What does that mean, tame? The little prince asked the fox. It is an act too often neglected, said the fox. It means to establish ties. My sermon today is about establishing ties. The heart of our Unitarian Universalist congregation is the establishing of ties. It's about connection. There are many reasons why you who are here have chosen to keep showing up here. You may be here for the amazing music, that Schubert piece for the prelude. You may be here for the uplifting messages. You may be here for the stories or for the rituals of candles and silence. It may be for the free coffee or something less tangible like the feeling of belonging or of being part of something larger than yourself. A very common reason is for community. People do not usually join Unitarian Universalist congregations to be forgiven of their sins, or to be taught the right way to believe, or because their family expects it of them. We come, more often than not, for community, to be together with other people who share our values of respect and curiosity, compassion and justice, truth and beauty and love. Our work as a congregation is to establish ties, to build those connections, to create this congregation together. In Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's book, The Little Prince, the fox talks about this as being tamed. To be tamed, according to the fox, is to see the one who has tamed you as unique and very important. And in turn, you become very important and unique to them. To see and be seen. To know and be known. The fox tells the little prince, this is what it means to be tamed. I received a new game a few days ago that relates to all of this. It was a game that I supported on Kickstarter over a year ago. And it finally arrived a little over a week ago. I'm very excited about this new game. It's called The Fox Experiment. And the premise is based on the decades-long scientific effort to domesticate foxes that the Soviets did beginning back in 1958. In real life, Dmitry Balyev and Lyudmila Trut gathered a group of Russian silver foxes and bred the ones that showed the most interest in humans. Each successive generation was again selected for friendliness. Only the friendliest pups became parents of the next generation. The hope was to create the 1,000-year-long domestication process of dogs in the span of a few decades for foxes. In the game, you build a deck of fox pups working to increase traits like floppy ears and wagging tails and spots on their fur. Each new fox is given a friendliness rating in the game. And the higher your friendliness rating, the more dice you get to build the next generation. In the real experiment, the scientists also gave each fox what they called a friendliness rating. Assuming for a moment that I'm correct about our congregation's work, that it is to establish ties, what do you think your friendliness rating might be? The fox told de Saint-Exupéry's Little Prince that to be tame was to establish ties. Maybe our UUCB mission statement should say something about taming one another. I'm not suggesting we actually do that. Taming has a paternalistic tone that doesn't sit well with me, as if the only value of an animal is its relation to humans. But consider this just a playful entrance into a serious space in which we talk about how we are here to establish ties and make friendly connections together. My colleague Cynthia Snavely once summed up our faith saying, "Connection is our holiest word." The Latin root of the word religion is legare, which is the same root for ligament, to tie or bind, to connect. Religare, or religion, would be to rebind, to reconnect, to bind up the broken, as it says in Isaiah. We Unitarian Universalist ministers do like to tease out the Latin of the roots of our language now and then. All around us are forces pulling us apart. We live in disconnected and alienating times. There are powers that want us isolated and lonely so as to be more easily manipulated and controlled. I don't mean this at a conspiracy theory level. It's just become a tactic of our consumeristic culture. We are better consumers when we are isolated and lonely. As Unitarian Universalists, we make a commitment to reconnect. Our distinctive religious work as a faith community is the work of connection. There are a few reliable ways to build these connections here together. The floppy ears and wagging tails, if you will. If you attend Sunday morning worship regularly, that is certainly a good start. But how well do you get to know each other during this hour? Certainly we're holding silence together. We're listening to amazing music and uplifting messages together. The candles of joys and sorrows open up some invitations to connection with other people who are in the room with us. The announcements become very important when you look at it like this. But most of this hour of worship is preparation time for the connections that we make outside of this hour in our congregation. To establish ties and deepen your relationship in the congregation, it helps to do more than just show up on Sunday mornings. Join the choir. Host a table at the art and gift show or help in the kitchen. Teach a class. Serve as an usher or on the caring team. One reliable way to establish ties and make connections to really become a member of this community is to serve in some fashion, to offer your gift, to volunteer, to be of use in some way. The other reliable way is to receive. Join a class, a book discussion or a workshop, or perhaps our Chalice Circles program, as a way to learn something new, but often as important, it's an opportunity to meet people and get to know them and to get known. Unitarian Universalism does not work well as a spectator sport. We are here to build community together, to participate in creating what we are as a congregation. You have a role in that process, in the giving and receiving that creates this community of connections in which we thrive. We have a new program starting. Comes up next month, our Chalice Circles program. You can sign up through December. When you join, you commit to attending once a month until this summer. Each group has facilitators and a covenant. They follow the monthly Soul Matters themes, and there are activities and questions for you to respond to. If you join one of these groups, you will be invited to share your responses to questions such as these. In September, when the Soul Matters theme was welcome, we had questions like these. Who welcomed you in when you needed it most? What would you tell someone younger than yourself about welcoming grief? Do you know what it's like to encounter a welcome that requires you to remove parts of yourself to belong? In October, when the Soul Matters theme was heritage, we had this activity. We all have one, a family memento that holds something important about our family heritage and history. Most of the time, these mementos also keep us grounded in a value that offer us comfort and inspiration when we need it most. So this month, reflect on one of your favorite family mementos and figure out why it has such a hold on you. And if possible, bring that memento with you to show to your group. Each month, in Chalice Circles, you will receive an activity and a handful of questions to consider, all based around the Soul Matters theme. But let me try something a little different. Instead of just posing these questions rhetorically, I'll ask one and invite you to think for a moment, and then if you want, turn to a neighbor and respond briefly right now. You're always free to pass. In many ways, the process of our Chalice Circles involves deep listening. You spend some time thinking about what you will say in your response, but then you spend a lot of time listening to other people's responses. Deep listening is a key ingredient in this process, as it is in the process of establishing ties and making friends. So here is this morning's big question. Who first offered you the gift of deep listening? Take a moment in silence with that question. See if you can come up with a response. Who first offered you the gift of deep listening? And if you would like, I invite you to turn to a neighbor. You can always pass. Participation is never required, but always encouraged. If you would like, turn to a neighbor now and take a minute and share your response and listen to their response. I'll ring the bowl for your attention to come back to the group after about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. I hadn't told Tim that I was going to turn and talk to him. I don't know if he expected it, but he answered. We actually both found teachers from when we were in grade school were the answer. Reverend Scott Taylor the lead organizer of Soul Matters, has said that the model they're offering in these Soul Matters groups is a discernment model. In the circle, we use a twice-around process. The first time around, you respond to your question and listen to other people as they respond. There's no crosstalk and no conversation. The second time around, there is some back and forth. We do gratitudes and connections. It's a time to say, I really connected with what you shared because I had a similar experience. It was a teacher for me too, you might say. Or I appreciate what you said because I'd never thought of it like that before. Or something along those lines. Gratitudes and connections, a little back and forth. It's the second time around that we build the relationships in the group. The first time around is for your discernment and your listening. It's a powerful experience to know yourself and to be known by others. Once a month, your group will gather. The facilitators will have shared material ahead for you to have thought about before you show up. They will light a candle, share some opening words. You'll have a brief check-in time. What is one thing weighing on your spirit and one thing that's lifting your spirit up? Then you'll do that twice-around process with an activity. I used the example of the family memento exercise. And after that, you'll do the twice-around process again with the questions. And then from there, you choose, you have a time for closing with the likes and wishes, and there's been a final reading. This is the formula. It's actually a fairly structured process. One must observe the proper rites, the fox tells the little prince. The structure of Chalice Circles shapes the space for a level of sharing. In the fox's language, it's designed to tame us. Perhaps better to say it's designed to establish ties so that we are not strangers to each other. Our Chalice Circles are a way to strengthen the heart of our community through meaning-making and simple friendships. Now, indeed, there are many opportunities. This is not the only one. It's just a new one that we're starting fresh. We have the choir. We have workshops that we offer regularly. We have classes and book discussions. We have opportunities to serve. There are many ways for you to establish ties. We are social creatures. We need each other to be fully ourselves. There is still a place and a need for us to embrace the wilder, independent side of ourselves, to howl at the moon, to get angry about injustices. We will need to be wild from time to time. And so perhaps it's more a balance that we're looking for. A balance of enough gentleness and friendliness as well to take part in creating something important like community. It is important for our balanced well-being to have connections with other people, to have ties with groups that nourish us and lead us deeper into ourselves and in the service of that which is greater than ourselves. Come, let us build this congregation together, that we may all thrive. In a world without end, may it be so.